Hello everyone, my name is Gajendra Deshpande. I am working as assistant professor in KLS Gokte Institute of Technology, India. Today I will be presenting a talk on investigating digital crimes in smart cities using Python. First of all, I am extremely sorry. I got confused with the time. So as soon as I saw the email ID, email, I got connected. So sorry for being late. So in today's talk, we will be discussing about introduction to digital crimes and with respect to smart cities, then digital forensics, the process of investigation and collection of evidence, then investigation of acquisition media using Pi screenshot module, then investigation of emails, investigation of embedded metadata, finally the conclusion and questions. So let us see some cybercrime statistics. So the Internet Crime Report for 2019 released by USA, so Internet Crime Complaint Center of the Federal Bureau of Investigation has revealed top four countries that are victims of internet crimes. So USA, UK, Canada, and India. These are the top four countries which are victims of cyber crimes. These are only reported crimes. There are unreported crimes, and that number is really huge. According to RSA report, mobile transactions are rapidly growing and cyber criminals are migrating to less protected soft channels. So the meaning of soft channels is our mobile devices and gadgets, and there are several security settings actually which many people are not aware. And many times it also happens that whenever we are installing the applications, we give permissions to the various aspects of our mobile phone. For example, we grant access to the contact list, we grant access to the taking pictures and so on. And there are many people who are not frequent users of mobile phones, or even senior citizens, or the people who are not technologically savvy. They become usually the target here. Then, according to the report by Norton 2015, an estimated 113 million Indians lost about rupees 16,500 on an average to cybercrime. So that comes to nearly $200. According to an article published in Indian Express on 19th November 2016, over 55% millennials in India were hit by the cybercrime. So the millennials are those people who are born after 1995. So that means our younger generation is at the target by cyber criminals. And a recent study by Checkpoint Research has recorded over 150,000 cyber attacks every week during COVID-19 pandemic. So there has been an increase of 30% in cyber attacks compared to the previous weeks. We can cite several reasons here. Maybe many people have lost jobs and many people have experienced the pay cuts. So these are all the reasons for unhappiness of employees and people. Those who have lost jobs, they are not just uh, educated working class, or those who are working in very good companies. It's also many street vendors and many uneducated people all also have lost the jobs. So they're all using these tactics to perform various kinds of cyber attacks. Now, with respect to smart cities, what happens here is there are many things which are in place. For example, to manage parking, we will be having an app. So mostly many times every smart city will come up with an app where the app will be consisting of information related to the connected services, and you can book or whatever things you can do through those mobile phones. For example, you can check whether the parking is free in the parking slot, and you can try to book it if you are going to that particular area. So similarly, you will also come to know about the uh, various information. For example, if you are waiting for a bus, you will also come to know when the bus will arrive, right? And apart from that, and due to pandemic, monitoring has increased. So government is monitoring your activities, and even at several places employee monitoring will be there. So all these apps and several agencies, they are all collecting the sensitive information. If this information is compromised, then you will be in trouble. Now, to handle the these crimes, actually there are two aspects. One is the security aspect, and second one is the forensic aspect. In security aspect, what happens is we are going to uh, try to prevent the cyber attacks. So that is the phase before crime. So we try to prevent the crime, but forensic is the aspect, it comes into picture whenever crime happens. Okay, so that is the difference. Now, in case of smart cities, uh, what happens is, as I have told you, there are many interdependent services. Okay, our travel, water, electricity, uh, fuel connections, all these are interdependent on each other. So if any one service is attacked, then it may affect other services also. So the techniques which were used earlier, so already we have some established techniques, those can be used, but we need to go for some enhanced techniques also. So that is, we need to go for more technology dependent techniques, and based on our learnings we can devise the further strategies to handle the uh, cyber crimes. So forensic science is the use of scientific methods or expertise to investigate crimes or examine evidence that might be presented in the court of law. This is very, very important. Okay, in forensic step, the main goal is to collect the evidence, and the evidence needs to be presented in the court of law, and there are some standard procedures. If you don't follow those standard procedures, then whatever evidence you might collect, it may not be presented in the court of law. Court will not accept it. So standard procedure must be adopted whenever you are investigating digital crimes. So cyber forensics is investigation of various crimes happening in the cyberspace. So when we say uh, various crimes, they are using the technology as a tool to commit the crimes. So examples of cyber attacks include phishing, where uh, original website will be there, duplicate website will be created which looks uh, similar to the original website, and many people fall prey to it, feeling that it's a real website, and they enter all their data. So once they enter all their data, the data will go to the hackers or cyber criminals, and from that point uh, attack on your accounts, websites or applications begin. Then similarly the ransomware, so they say that they might be having some pictures or some sensitive information of yours, and in order to not to share those things, they will ask some money. Okay, sometimes they may even lock your system, so in order to release the access, they may ask some money, and it will be mostly in terms of bitcoins. Then fake news, so fake news is uh, bit problem nowadays, because everyone has access and anybody can post anything on social media. People don't verify whether the news is original or fake. and also whenever they are dealing with the social media accounts, at that time also uh, they will just simply put the message, and when they get any message in their instant messaging softwares like WhatsApp or Telegram, they just forward it without verifying the source and correctness of the information. So it has become a big problem. Then similarly, fake medicine. So many people are claiming that they have found a vaccine or they have a solution for the COVID-19 and so on. So again, people just believe it. Then extortion and the insider frauds. So insider frauds are as important as uh, external attacks, because insiders are those people, they know or they have access to sensitive information of the organization or of the people in the organization. So they can simply use that, and they can uh, perform the cyber attacks. Then, according to DFRWS, that is Digital Forensics Research Workshop, uh, the digital forensics can be defined as the use of scientifically derived and proven method toward the preservation, the collection, validation, identification, analysis, interpretation, documentation, and presentation of digital evidence derived from digital sources for the purpose of facilitating or furthering the reconstruction of events found to be criminal, or helping to anticipate unauthorized actions shown to be disruptive to planned operations. So here, if you closely look at the definition, here it covers everything. So it defines the steps to be carried out, the procedure to be adopted uh, while performing digital forensics investigations. Okay, and it also states the goal. Okay, so they will collect the evidence by reconstructing the events, and they see what evidences are there and so on. Now these are the steps which needs to be performed uh, whenever you want to perform digital forensics investigation. So first one is identification, then collection, then finally the validation, examination, preservation, and the presentation. In the first step, identification, what happens is the investigating agency, they may receive a call, and further they will call the forensic team. So it is the identification of the crime location, and protecting the crime scene, and identifying the different objects. Now next step is collection. So whenever you reach to the crime scene, you need to collect the appropriate objects. You need not have to collect everything which is there in the crime scene. So if it is a digital crime, and if, say for example, you have received a complaint stating that some criminal has posted the picture of a girl by morphing it, by changing the face of it and attaching it to something else. So in that case, it harms the reputation of that person. And when you receive the complaint, you identify that, okay, from so and so location, from so and so IP address, you have received all these things are happening at so and so location. So when you visit that location, you need to collect the evidence like the laptop, the gadgets like mobile phones and smart devices, hard disks, pen drives, and so on. So in this case, you did not have to collect other non-electronic objects, but it is important to collect the different kinds of cables which are being used. So all electronic equipments and devices needs to be collected from that place. Okay. The next is the validation. Now note here that before validation, let us also discuss one more important point. Whenever you are collecting the evidence, you need to take the photograph of a crime scene, you need to take the photograph of different objects, you also need to take the photograph of a state of a machine. For example, if your laptop is on, then you need to take the photo when the laptop is on. and if it's turned off, you need to take the photo that, and it proves that laptop is off. And also note here that if the system is on, you should not uh, turn off. You need to perform live forensics there. That's because if you turn off the system, then it may alter the evidence. So that is the uh, problem. And there is uh, actually the list, there's actually the checklist which clearly states that which are volatile evidences and which are non-volatile evidences. So the evidence needs to be collected in the order of volatility. So the most volatile information has to be collected first, and the least volatile information has to be collected last. So in that order, you need to collect the evidence. It is very important. If system is on, you should perform live forensics. If the system is off, then don't turn on the system. Okay, because it may alter some things in the volatile memory, as you know it. So this is very important step. You need to make the images of the uh, system or a software. When I say images, it is basically nothing but the hard disk image or OS image or disk drive image and so on. The next is validation. So in validation, what happens is you need to prove that whatever information you have collected, it is not being altered. Okay, so that can be done using hash codes. So there are many hashing algorithms which will compute the checksum, and if there's a difference between the copy and the original evidence, then it's an indication that clearly there is some change in the evidence. And note here that whenever you're performing any operation here, you need to perform on the copy, not on the original data. Okay, the next is the examination. So as I have already told you, once you collect the copy, you need to make multiple copies of it. Never perform forensic analysis on original data, because there may be a possibility that your data may be altered or the image may be altered by the forensic analysis software. Okay, and in that case, even if you find the evidence, then that may not be accepted in the court of law. So basically, perform the analysis on the copy of the data and find the information. Okay, so here the kind of analysis what you can perform is hard disk analysis, RAM analysis, regedit analysis, log file analysis, and so on. Okay, but after performing the analysis, again you need to check the checksum of original data and the copied data. Okay, it should match. The next is the preservation. Now note here that whenever you collect the information, it needs to be preserved. There are many factors which will affect or which may alter or corrupt the evidence. For example, environmental factors like maybe high temperature, or whenever you pass the device through some electronic devices which have magnets. Okay, specifically your speakers will be having the magnets, and there may be fingerprints present, and some devices will be very sensitive to the environment. Okay, so they need to be placed in appropriate polythene uh, bags which are designed to keep such evidence in a safe place. And also you need to place it in a proper locker, and you need to ensure that proper room temperature is being maintained. If it is not maintained, then again it will create a problem, and there is maybe a possibility that your evidence may be corrupted, or it may be altered or something. Okay, so preservation is also very important. Then finally the presentation. So in presentation, whatever evidence you collect, that needs to be presented in the court of law. Okay, so if you followed all these standard procedures, then only you will be able to present it in the court of law, and court will accept it. Otherwise, it may not be acceptable, it may not be admissible in the court. Now let us look at some Python packages for digital forensics. So the first package is Pi Screenshot. It basically takes the screenshot of a screen. So what you can do here in smart cities is, in smart cities, basically many things are monitored. Everywhere you see cameras placed, and you can automate that process. So instead of persons taking the screenshots, wherever some wherever if you feel that there may be a possibility of a crime, you can combine it with AI and club it with Pi screenshot module and take the screenshot for further analysis. The next is QPRE. So it is basically encode and decoding of MIME quoted printable data. So MIME stands for multi-purpose internet mail extensions. The next is Mutagen. So it's a Python module to handle audio metadata. Then PyPDF2. It's again Python library which is built as a PDF toolkit. Then finally, it's PE file. So PE file is nothing but the portable executable file available on Windows platform. PE file is a multi-platform Python module to parse and work with portable executable files. If you look at all these Python modules, all these are pure Python libraries. That means they don't need any dependency. They don't have any dependency. Just the language and installation of these packages will work fine. Let us first discuss the Patch Screenshot module. So Patch Screenshot tries to allow to take screenshots without installing third-party libraries. It is very, very important. It is cross-platform but mainly useful for Linux-based distributions. So when you're developing the applications, it doesn't matter. So you can just develop it on Linux. So some features are like you can have cross-platform wrapper, then it captures the whole desktop or it captures the area of a desktop, and supported versions are 2.7 and Python 3, so many versions. So the recommendation is that don't go for Python 2.7 if you're developing a fresh application. So you can select any version in Python 3. But the problem is here that interactivity is not supported and mouse pointer is not visible. So these are the problems. Now, performance is not a target for this library, but you can benchmark the possible setting and choose the fastest one. So here in forensics, performance is not the point. It's not the goal. The goal is to find the evidence. So the goal is to find the evidence without altering it. So that should be our goal. The evidence should be reliable. You can install Py screenshot using this command python 3 -m pip install pillow Py screenshot. So you can find the documentation here. So here we are using Py screenshot as a wrapper for pillow. So pillow is again image processing library in Python. Now this part of the code, whatever you are seeing here, it has been taken from Py screenshot documentation. If you visit, you will find this code block there. So to grab the whole screenshot, you need to import Py screenshot as image grab. Of course, that's a user defined one. Then you need to use the grab method and you need to use the save method to save the file. So just 3 lines. You will be able to take the screenshot of a entire screen. The next, similarly with respect to part of a screen, in grab method, you need to define a box and you need to specify the coordinates. So these coordinates are from left top corner to right bottom corner. Now this is about the performance. When you execute this command python 3 -m py screenshot.check speed test, it will give you different times per call. Okay, whenever you use the libraries, say for example these are the different libraries and this is for 10 iterations. 10 iterations means for taking 10 screenshots, how much time it is taking. So these are the different softwares used, image processing libraries used. So pillow is one of them. So depending on this performance, you can choose any software. You can choose MSS, or you can choose Image Magic, or anything. Then similarly, you can also change the backend. So you will come to know which backend is taking less time, which backend is taking more time. So if you are worried about the performance, then you can force some as backend. So here in this case, we are forcing Scrot as backend in the first case. In the second case, we are forcing MSS as the backend, and we are also disabling the child processes. So that gives us the improved time. The next is email investigation. Now, note here that many people get uh, spoofed emails, right? So spoofed emails are the bigger problems here in any city, be it a smart city, or be it a metro city, or be it even a normal city. So it doesn't matter. It depends on the organization. So individuals, they get such kinds of emails because you might have specified your emails at several places, several public places you might have registered, and if the database of that particular website is compromised, then your email ID is in the hands of hackers. So they can do anything with that email ID. Maybe the best way they will do is spoof an email. Spoofing an email is very simple. It just takes a minute in Google. Just search for spoofing email sites. You will get a lot of links. You can just visit it, and you can just send fake email like this to anyone. Now here, if you see here, it says that this mail is from Netflix, but I don't have any account in Netflix. But just imagine if some people have Netflix account, then it worries that person, and he may just click on try again payment button, and in that way he will be entering all sensitive information, and that sensitive information will be used by hackers, and uh, hackers to perform the further attacks. Now, how you can identify such attacks is you can see the from email address. So if you see from email address, there is nowhere mentioned Netflix. Okay, so it's clearly a system generated mail, or even the fake email. Okay, now even to check here to live at Microsoft.com, it's a fake address. Now, one more way you can identify is just place the mouse cursor over try again payment. Just place the mouse cursor. Listen carefully. Just place the mouse cursor here and observe it in the status bar. Okay, at the bottom of the browser window, it shows the URL. Okay, and that in the URL also you can observe that there is nowhere Netflix domain mentioned. Okay, sometimes some clever uh, people, what they do is instead of Netflix, it will be Netflix. Okay, just the T is flipped. So people will not see such kinds of URLs carefully. Okay, so that's also one technique which hackers use. And how you can identify, these are all non-technical ways, or any end user can identify uh, the email as fake email if they do these tasks. So similarly, you can also go for header analysis. So you can see here three dots. You can copy the email header and put it in some cyber crime uh, or email header analysis tools. So when you put it in email header analysis tools, you can see the entire path from where it is coming, and you will see that it is not coming from authorized servers. Okay, so that is why you should be worrying about, or you should be dealing with such kinds of spoofed or fake emails. And this is another example. Okay, it states that uh, someone is staying in some country, right, outside country, maybe uh, in African continent, or in South American continent or somewhere, or any other country for that matter. They say that they have some unclaimed amount, and they request you to settle, request you to help them to settle so much amount, and in return they will give so much amount. So in this case also, it's clearly a scam. So if you reply, you will fall prey to such scams. So they will take initial money and they will just run away. You will not be able to do anything. So that's the problem here. Now you can avoid such things. If you want to avoid such things in smart cities, the thing what smart city authorities can do is they can enforce all the organizations which have websites or email services or even branch offices in their cities to configure SPF and DKIM and DMARC. So SPF is the sending policy framework. If you configure these things, then nobody will be able to spoof or send fake email accounts. Nobody will be able to send fake emails to anyone, because that will be blocked by the DNS. Okay, because in DKIM also you are clearly specifying which email servers to use. For example, if you are using G Suite, then you can clearly mention in the website, you can clearly mention in the DNS that your G Suite will be using the Google servers. Okay, so if anybody tries to use any other server, then simply they will be blocked. Now, in case of email investigation, an investigator has the following goals while performing email forensics. That is to identify the main criminal, then to collect the necessary evidences, to present the findings, then to build the case. Then there are some challenges in email forensics, that is the fake emails, then the spoofing, then anonymous re-emailing. So these points have been taken from the source. So source is clearly mentioned here. So many parts of the code has been adopted from this source. So if you want more information, more detailed tutorial, it is available at this URL. So fake emails and fake emails, we have already seen the example regarding the claiming the unclaimed amount and it's settling. Then in spoofing, what happens is you will feel that the mail has come from legitimate source, but it is not coming from actually the legitimate source. It's actually uh, uh, somebody is spoofing it. So as I have already told you, it just takes a minute to spoof any email. Then the next one is anonymous re-emailing. In anonymous re-emailing, will be a problem at the server. Okay, so your server will send anonymous mails. So in that case, you need to uh, make appropriate configurations at the server to avoid anonymous re-emailing. And techniques used in email investigation are header analysis. So as I have already told you that in header analysis, you need to copy the email header, paste it in some header analyzers, and you will get the path from which server you are getting this message, and you just need to compare it with the legitimate server. The next is the server investigation. So in case of anonymous emailing, you need to check the configuration of the server and try to set the appropriate configurations. Then network device investigation. So you will be using several devices in your network. So you need to investigate those devices also and configure them properly. So in server also you can mention what are the network devices which are allowed and which are not allowed. Now this is a code, you can go through it here. So what it does is it access the headers and body content, attachments and other payload information. So it just extracts this information from the email. So it's simple Python script, and it's also note that it's checking is it a multi-part email. So in multi-part email, you will be having attachments as photos and other documents. So once this information is accessed, then you can perform the analysis. It is just accessing and collecting the information through a Python script. Then in this part, you are extracting the message body content by get payload method, and you are checking the content MIME type so that it can handle the storage of the email properly. So using get payload method, you are accessing the message body, so you can extract the content and store it in a database, or you can send it to the script which can perform the analysis over text. So most probably you will uh, get an email in the text form, and most of the email service providers have this spam filters. So they analyze the content and they identify the message as ham or spam. So such kinds of things are there. Then next, check the content MIME type. So we know that now emails are being sent as MIME types, so that is multi-purpose internet mail extensions, and you will be able to send multimedia messages. Okay, so depending on the file type and file content, you need to redirect the appropriate content at appropriate places so that the storage can be handled. Otherwise, if you don't perform this step, then it may result into loss of some information. So you will not be able to store some information, and that may result into loss of evidence. The next is the code in which we are going to extract the attachments. So these are all common features of an email. So extracting the body, extracting the headers, then extracting the attachments. So once you do this, you can perform next steps. Now this is a code where you are extracting the message body. Next is metadata forensics. So to perform metadata forensics, we are going to use a Python package called as Mutagen. So Mutagen is a Python module to handle audio metadata. Okay. For example, there may be many recordings which can be stored. Okay. Say for example, in smart cities, what happens is several instructions may be given through voice, or voice can be recorded by few surveillance cameras, or even it can be captured through some devices. So all those analysis you can do using Mutagen Python library. So it supports several formats such as MP4, MP3, OGG format, and so on. Okay. So yeah, it can also read headers and accurately calculate the bitrate and length of MP3s. So even that helps to perform some sort of analysis, and it is independent of audio format. It can also manipulate OGG streams on an individual packet or page level. So Mutagen works with Python 3.6 package on Linux and Windows and also Mac OS. Again, it has got no dependencies outside Python standard library because it's a pure Python library. Then you can install uh, Mutagen library using the command mentioned here, that is python 3 -m pip install mutagen. Now what this function, whatever is mentioned here, what this code does is it takes any audio file as input. In this case, it is taking awk file as the input and guesses its type and returns the file type instance or none. So in this case, you can note here that it has clearly returned that it's a OGG workbase format and the duration is 346.3 seconds, and bits per second is also mentioned. Then on this slide, you can see there are two code blocks. So the first one, what is doing is it takes again, it is taking flag file as input and guesses its type and returns the file type. So it is same as the previous one, but only thing is file format is different. Now in the second part, this code example, it gets the length and bitrate of MP3 file. Then next in metadata forensics is PyPDF2 file. It's again a pure Python library built as a PDF toolkit. It is capable of again extracting the document information, that is title, author, then splitting the documents page by page, then merging the documents page by page, then cropping pages, merging multiple pages into single page, that is you can print multiple pages on a single page, then encrypting and decrypting of PDF files. And it's very useful tool for websites which manage or manipulate the PDFs. So your information can be stored in PDF files, and you can extract the information from PDF files and perform analysis. So next one is PE file. So PE file is nothing but portable executable file. Again, it's a multi-platform Python module. Most of the information contained in PE file headers is accessible, as well as all the sections, details, and data. The structures defined in the Windows header files will be accessible as attributes in PE instance. The naming of fields or attributes will try to header to naming scheme in those headers. So only shortcuts added for convenience will depart from that convention. So PE file requires some basic understanding of portable executable file with it. So it's possible to explore nearly every single feature of PE file format. Now with PE file, you can do some tasks. For example, you can inspect headers, analyze the sections of data, retrieve the embedded data, reading strings from resources, warning for suspicious and malformed values. Then basic butchering of P's, like writing some fields and other parts of the P. It will not rearrange P file structures to make room for new fields. So then overwriting fields should be safe. It is safe here. Then packer detection with PID signature and so on. So conclusion is that there are still more many Python packages for forensic investigation. In this talk, we have mostly focused on only the extraction of information. So once extraction is done, then you can write other part of the code, basically the analysis part of the code. So in analysis part, again, you may have to perform or use some specialized packages. Again, it depends. If you want some sophisticated results, if you want to make some prediction, if you want to speed up the investigation process, then you can also write AI program here, or data science algorithms can be applied over the data. So it is very important to follow the standard procedure laid by law enforcement agencies during the investigation process. So as I have already made this point clear, if you don't follow the standard procedure, then uh, your evidence will not be admissible in the court of law. There are many open source as well as commercial tools for digital forensics. So Python is not the only tool. So you can use any system level programming languages, again, because you will be mostly dealing with the file formats or accessing the different sections of the operating system, maybe extracting the information from volatile memory and so on. So you are free to use any language which provides you these features. For example, C language. Okay, and there are many commercial tools available, as uh, say for example Ncase is the one which you can use. Then similarly there are several others like FTK and so on. But the important thing is that learning to develop your own tool will be always advantageous. Okay, because you will be having a tool at your hand, and most of the times you will be writing small tools maybe. So you need not have to wait for your organization to purchase the software. So, and if some features are not present in those softwares, you can always try to complement them by writing your own tool. So many tools written in Python are pure Python implementations. So that's why just the installation, you can just install them and start using those softwares uh, in Python. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.